hosted by Yellowfin and VectorWise, making business intelligence faster and easier. My name is Glenn Raby and I'm the CEO of Yellowfin, and I'll be kicking off today's proceedings. The webinar should last approximately 45 to 50 minutes. So the first stage is a little bit of a presentation followed by a demonstration and then question time. So if you've got any questions during the webinar, you'll see a question panel on the right-hand side of your screen. Feel free to type your questions in there, and we'll certainly endeavour to answer those all at the end of the webinar. Quick introductions. Obviously, Glenn Raby, myself. I'll be followed by Jason Leonides, VP of Sales and Services Asia Pac for Ingress, who will be taking you through a little bit more detail around why business intelligence is important, why it needs to be fast, etc. And then I'll be followed by Daniel Shaw-Dennis, Product Manager at Yellowfin, who will take you through a bit of a demonstration of Yellowfin as well and the VectorWise product. So we're here today to talk about making business intelligence faster and easier. Why is easier and faster important? Well, let's take time to contemplate the opposite. The combination of slow query performance and a hard-to-use BI tool leads to BI project disaster. And there's absolutely nothing romantic about the scenario, even if you're lucky enough to have a movie star such as Leonardo DiCaprio on your BI team. What is hard? So why is hard and slow such a disastrous mix? Well, in terms of speed, there are a number of issues. Fundamentally, we live in an instantaneous world. People have got really used to having instantaneous results from using products such as Google and Facebook, etc., and seeing live results. As a result, there is an expectation by end users of BI products that they won't have to wait. Certainly in the old days, I can remember the early days of BI where people would be really comfortable letting a query run for 20 minutes. Not anymore. The end users of BI don't have that level of expectation. They want to be able to do speed of thought analysis. They want to be able to drill and slice on their data as quickly as they can think about the questions that they can pose. So that's the performance component. In terms of ease of use, the consumerization of web applications means that users expect to be able to use all of their enterprise tools with little to no training. If it's hard, even though it may be feature-packed, your end users will fail to use the power of that tool. And as a result, there'll be very low user adoption. And for the organization, the worst possible outcome, there will be little to no return on investment on your BI project and the tools that you've put in place. And for that reason, ease of use is critical. So what is it about Yellowfin and VectorWise that qualifies us to talk about these issues? Well, for one, Yellowfin is one of the leading BI platforms with regards to ease of use. In fact, we were founded to tackle the cost and complexity of traditional BI tools. In our view, having an easy-to-use tool and rolling that out to as many people within the organization is the most effective way to maximize return on your investment and to maximize the value of your data assets. Our entire product development is centered around what we call the BI consumer. This is the everyday user of business intelligence, the people who make decisions within your organizations. So it's not just the analyst who may be creating reports and building content, but it's the people who use that content on a day-to-day basis to drive your business and improve your business performance. And for that consumer, they want to have an easy-to-use tool that has instantaneous results. And lastly, in the 2011 Wisdom of Crowd study, Yellowfin was recognized as a leader in BI usability. From a perspective of VectorWise, well, VectorWise is currently and definitively the world's fastest database. Gartner has described it as game-changing. And VectorWise, as we'll see in this demonstration today, has smashed key benchmarks in terms of performance, price performance, and energy efficiency by the largest margin ever. And we'll take you through that in some detail. So together, the combination of Yellowfin and VectorWise is all about making BI faster and easier. So for today's agenda, for the first component of the presentation, Jason Leonides will give you a brief introduction into the biggest issues in BI today and why solving these issues is critical for your BI success. Following up from that, Daniel will take you from data to dashboard. He will show you how, in a rapid-fire demonstration, you can get up and running and delivering results to your business users in no time at all. In fact, he will build a dashboard for you in less than 10 minutes. And lastly, for the non-believers who don't believe the presentation that we're about to put forward to you, and it's not all about smoke and mirrors, we'll show you independent benchmarks that let you know what our customers and industry analysts are saying about both Yellowfin and VectorWise. So on that note, please let me hand you over to Jason and to take you through those issues.
Thanks, Glenn, for that terrific introduction. So as Glenn alluded to, what are the biggest issues in BI today? Obviously, from the title you see on the screen in front of you, it's ease of use and performance. So let's have a look at some greater detail as to why. Everyone is telling us that ease of use is important. In fact, it's the #1 buying criteria for any BI solution. Gartner, in their 2011 BI Magic Quadrant, lists ease of use as the new #1 reason to select a BI platform. The BI network research showed that 79% of all respondents rated ease of use as either very important or essential. And interestingly, only 23%, or less than a quarter, said their BI tool was easy to learn and use. So from here you can see that it's clearly very important. But why is it so important? Ease of use is essential for end user adoption. We want to empower our end users to make better decisions faster and not have to rely on IT to develop new reports each time. If your BI tool is not going to be adopted, then why implement at all in the first place? Whilst ease of use is the most desirable attribute of a BI solution, slow query performance is constantly listed as the #1 issue facing BI projects. BI Survey 9, the largest survey of its kind, lists query performance as the #1 issue as to why BI projects fail. In fact, slow query performance has ranked #1 on this survey every time since 2001. So this would suggest that the BI industry has been grappling with this issue for over 10 years at least. Both the Data Warehouse Institute and the Gartner Magic Quadrant all support the fact that most customers experience data warehouse performance issues. So why is this query performance so important? As we said, it allows users to access their information in a reasonable time. And as Glenn mentioned, in this Google environment, end users simply can't and won't wait hours or even minutes for a database to provide them the answers. So traditionally, IT departments have had to build hefty customizations, workarounds, and cubes to try and achieve the required query performance. Unfortunately, these workarounds are costly, very time-consuming, and require constant upkeep from IT. Fast query performance enables users to focus on solving business issues and not IT bottlenecks. This is what enables ease of use and successful adoption. So today we will demonstrate how the combination of Yellowfin and VectorWise breaks this deadlock and delivers unmatched ease of use and performance. We'll take you through a complete journey from data to dashboard. So we'll start by loading data into VectorWise. We'll connect to the VectorWise database we've just loaded and then build the metadata layer. This will enable us to start constructing reports in Yellowfin. So we'll now click over to Talent and let's begin. So just using a standard ETL tool, we'll be loading data into VectorWise, and then later Dan will show us how easily Yellowfin makes it to interrogate that data. By clicking Run, we'll trigger the load process to begin. In this particular example, we are loading sales data for an imaginary snow ski supply company, and we'll be loading a little over 1 million rows of sales data into the VectorWise database. We could have loaded a lot more data, but in the interest of time, we'll try and keep it as short as possible. The entire load is completely automated, as you'll see, and it takes less than about a minute to run. Okay, so as you can see, the process is now complete, and we can see that it has successfully created the athlete fact table, which contains our new sales data. So getting data into VectorWise is very simple and very fast. So what I'll do now is hand over to Dan from Yellowfin, who will show you how easy it is to build reports using the data we've just loaded in Yellowfin.
Thanks for that, Jason. Okay, let's get struck into Yellowfin straight away and launch it via our web browser. Now, Yellowfin is a completely web-based BI product, compatible with all major browsers and operating systems. Now, I'm using Firefox here today, but you're free to use anything your little heart desires. Now, a few moments ago, we created our database. The first thing we need to do in Yellowfin is to connect to it. Now, we all know that inputting connection parameters is the really exciting stuff in BI. So for the benefit of the time, we've actually already established our connection, and I'll show you where that is. Click into the administration panel and click into my source systems. Now, everything in Yellowfin is accessible via the browser to make it easy for your administrator as well as your end user to get to what you need. So if I click on our data source, all we've done is put in a bit of connection information here. We've made sure the database is Ingress VectorWise, popped in a username and password, and presto, we are connected. So now that we've created our connection, the next step is to create the metadata layer between the database and Yellowfin's reporting tool. Now this is where we create the relationships between the tables and turn the technical database fields into reporting objects that an end user can easily drag and drop to create their content. Once again, for the benefit of time, we have already established this layer, but I'll show you how we put that together. So I click into here, our fictional ski team, and here we go. On the left-hand side, you can see the tables that we're connecting to, in particular the athlete fact table that Jason loaded previously. And in the middle, we have the canvas of tables, and all we need to do is drag and drop the items that we need, join them up, and then highlight the fields we want to use, which are there in bold. Step 2, all we need to do is grab the fields that we've selected, drag them in, give them something like a business name that my report writers can actually understand, click Save, and that's it. We're ready to go for reporting. So we've created and loaded our database, we've established a connection, and outlined the data that we need. Let's actually start to create and launch Yellowfin's Report Builder. And here it is. On the left-hand side, we have the fields available for reporting. You can see there's the one I just added moments ago. And once again, all you need to do is drag and drop the items that you need. So let's say we're talking about a fictional ski team. What if we wanted to look at the money we're making, very important, and the methods in which we're doing that? So I might drag in booking method. I might go to my payment folder and drag in invoiced amount. And I'll go to step 2. So there you can see I've very quickly and easily created my report, and I can see email is the dominant force. So this is a smaller report. Let's actually build this up, make it something a bit more meaningful, and maybe add in region and provide a visual representation of this data. So if I click on my data, I'll go back to where I was. On the right-hand side, I have some different reporting options available to me. I might choose a table and chart. I might represent this via a cross tab, and I'll add the athlete region. And say I wanted to see the breakdown of those regions in a bit more depth, I'll enable the drill down functionality within Yellowfin. I'll go to step 2 again, and you can really start to see the report taking shape. I can quite easily see the splits between my regions. Now I've asked for a table and chart, so I'm going to click on my little chart editing tool. Now within Yellowfin there are a heap of different charting options here. I'm just going to create one really quickly for you based on the column type. Now we do try to make it as easy as possible to create this content by allowing quite simple kind of drop downs to allow you to choose what you need. So I'll choose athlete region, I'll grab my invoiced amount, and I'll grab my booking method, and then simply click refresh. I can see my chart taking place. Now say I wanted to change this around, I can quickly just drop down and change the items that I need. And there we have it. I'm done. I'm quite happy with that little chart. Close that. Now we did ask for drilling functionality, and that's enabled on both tables and charts. So if I hover over the top of this chart and click down through, I can see my regions in a bit more detail. And that's it. So I might just enable this to broadcast out, which I'll show you what that means in just a sec. And I'll save my report. I might just call this Demo 2, my second one for the day. And there you have it. I've got my report created and saved. So from here, I can distribute this via email very quickly and easily. I can send a colleague a URL link that they can quite easily click on the report and get to the information. Or I can embed this content into a web page or a wiki, so people from inside or outside my organization can get to see this data. Or from here, I might want to broadcast this out. So if I click on New Broadcast, I might want to schedule this every kind of week on a Monday morning at 9 o'clock, or send this out to a group of people or an individual person. Or I might want to send this based on a delivery rule. And what that means is, if, for example, if my email numbers were below a certain mark and missing my KPI, I want to inform my bookings manager straight away, which means I can send them information based on a rule. And there you have it. We have the report created. Now we did say we were going to go from data to dashboard, so we just got one more element to go, which is the nice bit, which is the dashboard. So let me jump into Yellowfin's dashboard editor. So I'm going to jump into a dashboard that I started creating earlier today. You can see I've got 3 reports on there already. I've got a lovely looking profit margin dial. I've got a region performance report which allows me to drill up and down a hierarchy like we just had previously. And I've also got my regional summary report which allows me to click down and see the transactional detail as well. So that looks all good. Let's add our report that we just created earlier. So if I click on Add Report, and I'll type in the report that I had before, I think it was called Demo 2. You can see I've done this a couple of times. And there it is. I'll pick it from the list and click Add. And there we have it. I might size this up, make it look the size I want it to look like. Looking good. Once I'm happy, just a matter of saving it. And it's done. As easy as that. So from here, I can maybe distribute this tab. I want to send it to my whole organization, maybe some of my management team, or even an individual. I can do that very quickly and very effortlessly from the menu here. So I had that timed at about 9 minutes that we've actually gone from data to dashboard with the fastest database and the most easy to use BI product around. It is that easy, And why is it so important? Well, we've mentioned this before. We need that user adoption. You really want to enable your users to make better decisions faster and not rely on IT. Now, we've seen how quickly it was to load VectorWise earlier, and how easy it is to use Yellowfin, and that was with about 1 million rows. And that's all well and good, but realistically, we usually use a bit more big data than that. So let's see how it stands up against some competition. So here are two identical reports on a Yellowfin dashboard using the exact same data on the exact same hardware with no tuning at all. Now, we'll mention that the other database that we are using is one that is commonly known as the leading transactional database system. So it's a big boy. And both of these are pulling in 30 million rows of data. So we're talking some pretty hefty numbers now. We're getting serious. Now, as you can see, the VectorWise report has returned in next to no time at all. And I can actually start to drill down on this data. I can really begin to do my analysis. I can look at the numbers in here. I can ask the questions I need to ask of this report in the time that it's still taken me for the other database to load up. Now, you may argue, you know what, Dan, of course we're going to tune our database for performance, and we're certainly going to aggregate data where we need to. But the point is, you don't have to. Why add this extra cost and complexity? And it's not just your users, but the business is going to benefit from a faster BI deployment, as well as providing users with the speed that they need and a tool that they'll love. So I see that my other database has returned, and if we have a quick look and I can look at the timing information, we can see that was around 64 seconds. So we're talking minutes versus seconds here. And this is just one report and one user. But if we're talking many users, lots of reports, it's a really, really large difference. It's a massive difference when it starts to add up. So we've added one report to our dashboard, and you might argue, yeah, you know what? I can spend a couple minutes waiting for my data. I can get a coffee. I can talk to my colleagues about the football. That's okay. But in the real world, often you need more than just one report to get your job done effectively. So let's jump into a dashboard with half a dozen or so reports. Now, this dashboard is what we call a Yellowfin analytical dashboard. It allows you to slice and dice and drill on a whole series of reports together. So from here, I can use my filters on the right here to get to the data I need and drill into those segments. So say, for example, I'm running a marketing campaign. Which demographic should I focus on? I might say, let's look at the 40+ categories. So I'll choose these ones. Maybe some regions. So I might pick Australia and Asia, for example. And I'll click Go. What that is then doing is filtering my complete subset of data. I can click on it, drill on a chart, and it once again filters my data rapidly, at immense speeds. And what does this mean? We're talking about speed of thought analysis here. What if I have to wait 2 minutes for each of these reports? 12 minutes later, I can get one of my questions answered before I can even pose another one. Let alone doing this on a mobile device. Your iPad screen would most likely enter lock mode before your data came back. Now, Yellowfin is not only trying to make it easy to create your data, but also to analyze and visualize your information. From small things, such as tooltips to help you highlight all the underlying data and exactly what it's looking like, to annotations on reports to help you easily explain results, and to also what we particularly pride ourselves on at Yellowfin is our world-class geospatial capabilities right out of the box. Now, geospatial data is becoming more and more abundant in today's organizations. And with Yellowfin, if you've got the data, we'll map it for you. It's not an add-on or an extra. It's all part of the one product. And often it's what isn't being shown that can be just as valuable as what's there. Take this heat map, for example. It's showing distribution of sales activities. It's quite condensed around here, a lot of action here, and a lot more in California. But I can see there's nothing going on in this Utah area. So what does that tell me? It says, well, here's opportunities. Here's a market that I should be kind of getting stuck into. on the flip side of the coin, well, actually, I've got a sales team in place there. They're obviously not doing their job effectively. What can I do to remedy that? So there are many, many gains to be gained from being able to represent your data in the most effective manner. I'll show you a couple other ways that we do that from our geospatial representations. Now, in Yellowfin, we have the ability to layer in with Google Maps, and everyone loves using Google Maps, let's be honest. And we can put our point information quickly and easily on a Google Map. Now, here's the heat map we had before. So say, for example, I did want to ask that question and say, okay, where are my sales teams? How does it affect the sales that they're doing? Within Yellowfin, you have the ability to layer information in, quickly and easily. So there you go. There's my report. I can see, look, where my sales are does really correspond to where my sales team is. So maybe my action is, let's put a sales team in place in the areas which I think I can capitalize on. And we also have full zoom capability on items like bubble charts, where you can have your own polygons or shapes within a chart, like so. So we've shown you the speed in which you can have your data and how easy it is to produce your content. Now the question is, what do you do with it? Well, most likely, if you want to get some return on investment on your BI, you want to make some decisions depending on what you see. Now, traditionally, you may call a meeting between your relevant parties, email out copies of reports, print some out, have your meeting, have a couple of follow-up meetings just to approve what you've done. There's a better way. With Yellowfin discussion, we try to enable these decisions to be made in real time between the people that matter, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Let's fire up Yellowfin discussion. So here we have an example of a discussion thread. For example, I can have my senior manager team have access to this, and we can post questions, start talking and making decisions about the business. So I'll give you an example. I'm that marketing manager again. I want to do my marketing campaign in the 50+ bracket. I think there's an opportunity there. I want to capitalize. I can post this up. I can link in reports to justify my stance. So here I can see, yep, there's definitely some opportunity in that area. I might add to this and try to get members of my team involved. So for example, I'll post something up. Ask the question of my colleagues. I'll add a decision widget to get their feedback. I'll say, yes, I think we should. And we can really start the conversation going and making a decision in real time with real data. It's a different way of doing things. It's a different way of making decisions. But as we're heading towards this path of needing speed, ease, mobility, we believe that's the way forward. Now that wraps up the demonstration portion of the webinar. Hopefully we've managed to show you today how the speed of VectorWise and the ease of use of Yellowfin would make for a most effective BI solution. Now I'll pass over to Jason, who'll conclude by telling you about a few others who feel the same way.
Thank you, Dan. That was an excellent demonstration, and I'm sure you all agree it certainly highlighted the benefits of easy-to-use BI that performs. So we've just seen Dan run the performance demonstration where VectorWise dramatically outperformed the traditional row database. To give you a little more context as to how much better the performance of VectorWise is, earlier this year, VectorWise participated in a number of independent and audited benchmarks with the Transaction Performance Council, the TPC. These benchmarks are designed to push BI solutions to the limit, and vendors only participate if they believe they can set a new performance benchmark. So typically, they're the fastest of the fast. And as you'll see from the screen graphic, over the last 3 years, there have been modest increases by each of the benchmark holders, you could say mainly attributed to improvements in hardware. VectorWise didn't just break the records for 100 gigabyte, 300 gigabyte and 1 terabyte benchmarks. It beat them by the largest margin ever in the history of the TPCH benchmark. Importantly, this outstanding result was achieved using less CPU cores and only half the RAM of the previous benchmark holder. And I think this powerfully highlights the radical improvements possible due solely to VectorWise and its architecture, and not improvements in hardware. And it's not just exceptional performance that sets VectorWise apart. Now, VectorWise also set new benchmarks with a 68% better price performance. That's 68% cheaper and more cost-effective than the previous benchmark holder, and 78% less energy consumption. And this is especially prudent in today's energy-conscious world. The analyst community is emphatically endorsing VectorWise. Robin Bloor states VectorWise is 4 years ahead of the competition and will remain there until the competition finds a way to catch up at a software level. Donald Feinberg from Gartner encapsulates it simply as game-changing. It's a powerful endorsement from one of the leading industry analysts. Yellowfin is also very highly acclaimed. In the 2011 Wisdom of Crowds BI study, which compared 16 of the world's leading data BI vendors, out of the 630 customers surveyed, all were having, all rated Yellowfin very highly on all aspects of product usability. This included general usability, ease of administration, ease of installation, and third-party integration. Highly respected independent analyst Jos van Dongen is particularly impressed with Yellowfin's functional richness and simplicity. And as always, end customer endorsement is very highly regarded. Macquarie University in this case study are particularly attracted to Yellowfin because of its ease of use, and they've been delighted with its adoption across their business. So in summary, we've seen how the two key BI industry challenges of ease of use and performance are addressed by the combination of Yellowfin and VectorWise. Yellowfin is intuitive, simple to deploy, and most importantly empowers users to build and deploy their own reports without needing IT to assist. The VectorWise analytical database is incredibly fast. Data can be interrogated at will without the need for expensive aggregates, cubes, and continual fine-tuning and finessing from IT. The Yellowfin and VectorWise combination delivers faster insight for quicker decisions, so you can satisfy your user expectations. Faster deployment, less complexity, as we saw with Dan's demonstration, going from data to dashboard in less than 10 minutes. And critically, it enables us to do more with less, spend less time, less money, less hardware on supporting your BI solutions. This powerful combination breaks that dreaded performance deadlock and will change the way BI is implemented today. So for more information, software downloads, white papers, product sheets, please visit us at either yellowfinbi.com or ingress.com. We've also started LinkedIn communities where you can join and share ideas and get access to our partner network and customers. And make sure you visit our joint website, fastreporting.com.au. And while you're there, take a moment to have a look at Sky Insight. Sky Insight is our joint cloud BI offering, and here you can try Yellowfin and VectorWise and even start developing and deploying your new BI solution right now. So don't settle for the status quo, break the deadlock and try Yellowfin and VectorWise today and see the difference it can make to your BI. I'd like to thank you all for your attendance and hope you have found the session insightful. It's now time to open the webinar to your questions and we'll do our best to respond. Thank you.
Thank you. And the first question that we have coming through is, can you see and monitor how often the reports and dashboards are being accessed within Yellowfin? Dan, would you like to respond to that?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yes, well, basically Yellowfin comes shipped with performance monitoring dashboards already. So we basically give you full view of what's happening on your system from a user point of view, from your report bottlenecks to what your system is doing, and that comes shipped with the product from day one.
So another Yellowfin question for you, Dan. Can Yellowfin create reports in a pivot table format?
In a manner of speaking, we can. I mean, through the, I guess, that cross-tab format, you can get, and some of the drill functionality that I was showing yesterday, you can still get that pivot table-like kind of status, and you can easily chop and change your fields like you would in a pivot table in Excel.
The next question, what are the available platforms for VectorWise? Is the Win64 version available? Jason, would you like to answer that one?
Yeah, certainly, Glenn. Happily answer that. Currently, VectorWise is available on Linux and on 64-bit Linux. Windows 64-bit is currently in beta and in controlled release. It's due for general release at the end of July.
Okay, so the next question, assuming you have a report which is run every week with a date parameter entered for week ending Friday, how does that increment automatically with the scheduler? Dan.
All right, let's have a look there. Glenn, you might want to answer that question, actually.
So basically, when you're setting up a scheduler, you'll see within the broadcast, you're actually just setting, as an example, the date parameters. So Yellowfin in the background, if you wanted to pass through a parameter as your filter, in the filter parameter set within Yellowfin, you can use non-date parameters. So for example, it could be more as an instance such as every Friday of the week, as an example. So Yellowfin will in the background automatically then convert that into a date format for your filters. You could be using a sysdate format, etc. So it's essentially, there are within the date parameter range within Yellowfin a whole variety of, if you like, predefined date variables that calculate the exact date parameters that you want. So the next question we have is, does VectorWise have PL SQL support? Jason.
No. So yeah, Glenn, I'll answer that. So the answer is no. PL SQL is a Oracle proprietary language. We don't support PL SQL. However, we do support all industry standard SQL, SQL, anything that's anti-95 SQL is fully supported. So all your current SQL commands that you're using against your current SQL databases will work without any effort. Just with respect to the PL SQL comment, typically in a lot of data warehouse environments, PL SQL is usually heavily deployed to build indexes and aggregates and support the, I guess, performance aspects of the database. They're just not required anymore. So you'll find that when people migrate from databases like Oracle, a lot of the custom code they have developed is just no longer required. VectorWise is more than performant enough to run these queries instantaneously without the need for all these indexing and aggregate configurations that people currently use.
Okay, just and a follow-up to that, Jason, is there any form of SQL scripting that's supported?
So the scripting at the moment is fairly limited. There's not a heavy scripting language behind VectorWise. It is an area that we will get into, but as I said, it's not widely used. It's just not required at this stage.
And to be honest, if you're using Yellowfin, then you will need very little scripting at all. So you can make use of the GUI and get all your data through Yellowfin. A question that is, I suppose, just an more interesting one. What is the roadmap for Yellowfin and Ingress VectorWise? Will you release an appliance version of the two? Well, the answer to that is we have at the moment. So we can, and certainly Jason, you can speak to the Sky Insight if you'd like.
Yeah, sure. So Sky Insight is a very good example of how we've gone to market together. It's a pre-packaged BI analytics solution that is a hosted environment on the web. Any organisation or customer or individual can get on, simply start see a demonstration of VectorWise, and using their credit card or whatever, purchase time on the clouds and cloud environment and start using and deploying Yellowfin and VectorWise to their end users. So it's available. There's no real there's nothing. The simplicity of the two products is quite remarkable. An appliance is neither here nor there. Frankly, it's just so easy to install and configure that there's very little appliance required for it. So I think as a first step, using this Sky Insight offering as a starting point and as a trial is a great solution.
Thank you, Jason. The next question we have is, what kind of spatial functions does Yellowfin support? Can you geocode, map on a raster and vector layers, create vector layers, buffer contain, etc.? What spatial data ships for Australian clients? Okay, so Yellowfin supports a variety of geospatial functions. So we can utilize geospatial data types that are stored in a database. So we can query Postgres spatial, and we can create spatial filters such as within, intersect, etc. And we can render polygons that are stored in a database as images and maps within the Yellowfin application, as you would have seen in some of the examples. We can also create raster maps, so we do support the ability to import raster images and to be used as mapping as well. Yellowfin itself doesn't ship with spatial data, so although we do have spatial data sets that we can make available to our clients, those spatial data sets have been sourced independently and they are not shipped as part of our product. We don't manage and maintain that for our customer base. But we're certainly more than happy to work with you to provide the spatial data types that we do have for your reporting. The next question we have is around what mobile platforms currently does Yellowfin support for mobile BI? And Dan, I might get you to respond to that.
Yeah, absolutely. We support good old iPhone, of course, and the iPad. So we have a native app for those devices, as well as all Android devices. So we obviously you can use your browser on those devices as well, but we also have a native application, and they are free to download from the various app stores available.
And just on that, you will be seeing a lot more from on the mobile side from Yellowfin certainly in the next few months. So we've got some very exciting new functionality and new applications coming out for both iPad and Android tablets. Here we go. Could we put Ingress VectorWise on top of other proprietary DBs as a cheaper alternative for data warehousing? Jason.
Yes, absolutely. That's the general premise. So typically, a lot of organisations have invested substantially in their data warehouse environments, and probably be very difficult to replace these out in any reasonable time. However, we would certainly encourage organisations to use VectorWise to complement their data warehouse strategy by building data marts, or even removing their aggregates and cube technologies that sit on top of those data warehouses. The benefit of that is there are several benefits of that. Firstly, it's a lot more cost effective, certainly a lot more cost effective, much less hardware required, much less DBA maintenance required to support all that. Obviously, secondly, it just means that you can limit the workload or reduce the workload of your data warehouse. So instead of investing heavily in more and more extremely large and expensive servers, buy a cheaper commodity hardware, sit them on the front of those servers, take the workload away from those servers, and dramatically reduce the cost of managing that very large, expensive hardware environment. Hardware grows in cost exponentially as the size gets bigger. So, VectorWise will run multi-terabyte databases on what I would call typical server room hardware. The sort of servers that would run your mail server will run a multi-terabyte VectorWise data warehouse. So this stuff is incredibly powerful and extremely cost effective. Thanks.
Okay, so here we have another mobile BI question. What kinds of reports are currently supported except dashboard in terms of mobile BI? So just on that, any content that you create in Yellowfin is available on a mobile device. So one of the things that I think we specialize in is the fact that you author once and you consume anywhere. And so you don't have to create a specific environment or specific reports that you push out to a mobile device. If you build a dashboard or you build reports within Yellowfin, those reports are consumable on our native applications as well as via a browser on mobile devices without any rework needed by yourselves. The next question is, sorry, I'm just, so this is a response to the question earlier about can VectorWise be put on any proprietary database in terms of the data warehouse? If yes, how would it affect the speed of IBW to retrieve data from those databases? So so how does it? So is that? I'm assuming the speed of loading VectorWise from those databases. Jason.
Yeah, sure, Glenn. So if I can read between the lines of the question is, would we dynamically reach into the data warehouse and retrieve the data out at query execution? The answer would be no. We would take the data out of the warehouse and load it into VectorWise, and then from there we would execute the queries. So it would be either a batch job that we would do periodically, maybe hourly or overnight, or we could either trickle feed it, so it's minus 10 minutes or 5 minutes, or even down to seconds or almost instantaneously. So we would replicate the data in VectorWise, and that's how we're able to deliver that breakthrough performance. It's not a reach-through solution.
Okay, so back to the mobile. Would we get all the reports in a mobile in a flawless manner, or are there any limitations for mobile reports?
Muted.
And the answer to this is no. What you see in the browser, using Yellowfin, sort of standard Yellowfin, is precisely what you'll get on a mobile environment. It will be shrunk to size, and we do, if you're on a phone as an example, we will toggle chart and table so they are seen on separate screens. But fundamentally what you see will be delivered there. So we are delivering that HTML to to the device. So you should see the same outcome. Of course, if you do have very, very large reports with huge data sets that are being downloaded, you may have performance issues on a phone, but from a representation perspective, no, they will be the same. What is the selling point of Yellowfin against other BI tools? Well, probably the biggest point of difference is our ease of use. We certainly have, I would suggest, a much more appropriate price point for larger deployments, definitely. And I think if you look at the whole single application integration of Yellowfin, so what we saw today, going from connecting to a database to delivering a dashboard, there is no other BI tool on the market that does that as a single integrated application. From your perspective, if you were to do that with another application, you'd be looking at multiple products to achieve the same outcome. And that is probably, from our perspective, a massive differentiator in the time and cost and complexity that it would take you to deploy any other BI tool. And as I think the whole point of this presentation is really to point out the ease of use of Yellowfin. Okay, so it looks like, unless there's any other questions coming through, that we may have come to the end of our questions, in which case I'd certainly like to thank, oh, here we go, last minute question. If in Yellowfin, can we easily change the data source for a report without changing the actual report's front end? Dan, would you like to talk to that?
Yes, I can talk to that. Well, let me just jump into Yellowfin. Answer is yes, we can easily change the data source. So depending on what you want to do, there are a few options here. So for example, if I click into my administration panel that we had before, and if I go into an existing data source, I can quickly and easily change this around. So if I change my database, change where it is, I can do that through the connection panel here. And also, if you've got a metadata layer and you wanted to swap around data connections, you can do that as well. If we just click into here and I edit it, bear with me 1 second, I'll just jump in. I can quickly and easily change my data source at the view level. So, if you've got a test and dev system, you want to quickly change around your connections, you want to do some testing, it's quite a handy little function to have.
Thank you, Dan. There was a question before about materials. Yes, we can send you through the materials from this webinar. And in terms of an evaluation download link, we'll certainly, I think you'll find it available on fastreporting.com.au. If not, we'll certainly be following up this webinar with a follow-up email with further links and download materials, etc. So you will be able to receive it that way as well. So once again, I'd like to, how did you connect two different databases in one report? So how do you connect two different databases in one report in Yellowfin? Dan, would you like to talk about our subquery functionality?
Yeah, sure can. Okay, so I'll just jump into the report creation tool that we had earlier, and I'll base it off the example database that we had. So if I create a report, very simple and easily, just run through. I'll just flick back. We haven't enabled it on this report. That's not too bad. Let me just jump out of here. So what we have is basically a subquery function that will enable you to have a combination of two different queries from two different data sources on the one report. Now let me just jump into another one that has that function enabled. So you have the ability to turn off and turn on certain functions within Yellowfin, and I've actually turned that one off. So let's just have a look if it's available on one of the other. Oops, that's the wrong one. Apologies for this. It's always these last minute questions that always seem to throw you. So let me just grab the VectorWise view and see if we've got it enabled here. We haven't. Excellent, excellent. But what would usually pop up is just another option here in the analysis button to enable another query, and would be visible the same way you'd have a query here.
So yeah, what Dan was endeavoring, and I think this role has it turned off, is the capacity to do append queries. So we can query both the same view multiple times within a report, or ultimately we can also query different data sources, different views, and join that data together, assuming that there's a common field or join that allows us to join the two data sets. So Yellowfin will query two different data sources, bring that data back in memory, make the join in memory, and return a single table result set to the end user. Okay. So how do we get in the dashboard? How do you get two different? That's really super simple. Because the dashboard fundamentally allows you to have to put any content onto that dashboard. So because Yellowfin, you can create many connections, so different connections to different databases, as we've seen. You can then create reports for those different databases. Those reports can be put onto a dashboard, and the dashboard is source independent. They don't all have to be from the same data source. And I think, obviously you're comparing to other BI tools. There are some BI tools that make it very difficult for you to do that. With Yellowfin, because it is just content going on the dashboard, even though you can link filters with them, fundamentally the source is irrelevant from a dashboard perspective. I hope that answers your question. All right, so once again, unless there's any more questions, and we've just gone past the hour, so I thank everyone for taking the time out to take part in this webinar today. We'll wrap that up today. If there's any further questions that you do have, please feel free to contact us directly, and we'll certainly be able to take your call and have a longer conversation. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you to Jason and Dan for doing a great presentation. And we look forward to speaking to you all in the not too distant future. Thank you.